This to me is just, they have no clothes on. They are the emperor with no clothes. They claim, they put all this forward because they're saving the planet, but it turns out they're doing exactly as you say. They're just standing up for their own particular pecuniary interests, and they should say so. Don't you think?
Absolutely. And I find the green opposition to nuclear power to be so interesting and really worth thinking about, because nuclear power is so obviously the way for humankind to go. It is a clean energy. You can create an extraordinary amount of energy with very few resources in terms of the uranium. It's easy to dump. It's easy to store once it's used. All the idea of nuclear waste being a terrible threat to the world is not true. That's quite a straightforward process. But Greens really oppose it, even though it would be much better than using coal and gas and other fossil fuels that have a certain expiration date on them. And you're right, they oppose nuclear power for a number of reasons. Firstly, because they are very often supported very generously by sections of the wind and solar industry who have a vested interest in demonizing nuclear power as well as demonizing fossil fuels. But of course, that never gets talked about. You know, these environmentalist activists will always say all climate change skeptics are funded by the fossil fuel industry, even where it's not necessarily true. And therefore, they're suspicious and they should be treated with disdain and they should not be listened to. But of course, the truest aim of many of them, they are funded by big corporations with a vested interest in certain ideas getting into the public realm. So that, again, there's that double standard over who is allowed to be funded and who isn't. But I think their opposition to nuclear also tells a bigger story, which is that they talk about saving the planet, but really they're just opposed to humankind's presence on the planet. It really is the creation of energy in order that there could be more people enjoying wealthier, more comfortable lives, and that, you know, the developing world might go through the same process that we in the developed world were lucky enough to go through 150, 200 years ago, where we industrialized and became incredibly modern. They're against all of that, fundamentally. They're against what they refer to as the human footprint. The human footprint is this idea that humanity has left this horrible stain on the planet. We've stood on the planet and left these pock marks everywhere. We're a plague, we're a disaster, we're a disease, and all that kind of stuff. So fundamentally what drives them is an ideological, moralistic opposition to human endeavor and human industry and what they view as human hubris. And they dress that up in all their fancy language, and they say, we want to save Mother Earth and make a cleaner environment. But it's actually the modern society that we have created that they are opposed to. So there are a number of reasons why they are obsessed with wind and solar. It's because they're often funded to be obsessed with it. It's also because they really do want to wind back the modern era and have fewer people doing fewer things and using less energy. And they have that vision of a very small human presence on the planet, which I find very depressing and actually quite misanthropic.